Hello there, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the WayForward chat. I am Hoff, your social media Tinkerbat here at WayForward, coming to you live from Mining Town. It is good to be back with you all after taking the last couple of weeks off, but we are here, we are live, and we have a great guest this week as I am joined by the one and only Matt Bozon, director of the Shantae series and also WayForward's creative director.
Hello. Hey, how you doing?
And we are here this week because the launch of the modern console and PC versions of Shantae Advance Risky Revolution is less than a week away. Pre-orders for the physical version are now live on limitedrungames.com. Digital pre-orders for the regular edition and deluxe edition are live on Switch in North America with a 20% off discount, and it arrives digitally everywhere on Tuesday, August 19th on Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and PC via Steam. So we are super ret to go. And of course, we will be taking questions here. Every week we get tons of Shantae questions that only Matt can answer. So finally, we can get some replies straight from the source. Please just ask with a Q colon in chat. We'll try to get to as many of those as we can later in this discussion. Anyway, Matt, welcome. Glad you could finally join us on the new format podcast.
Yeah, it's cool. Thank you. Yeah, this is my first time doing this one. Usually it was in the old format, so this is neat to see. Yeah, lots of fun. This looks cool.
Yeah, before we were always doing it through Twitter, but now we are live on Twitch and on YouTube with the nifty graphic, all the characters there. So yeah, this will be fun. So yeah, let's kick things off here by sort of just rewinding a little bit, taking us back to the whole origin of this entire Shantae Advance project.
You want me to tell you about it? You want to hear about it? You want to hear about it again? Like how
We
we
want to
got
hear about
like
it
what this
again.
is and why it
Yeah,
exists? All right,
exactly.
yeah. Let's okay, let's see.
Exactamundo, dude.
Oh my gosh, we're going okay, we got to get in the time machine for this one. So, yeah, all right. So Shantae Advance is the second Shantae game in the series. We did the first game, this was our Game Boy Color game we did way back in the 2002 is
Mhm.
when it actually came out. Right after that, we started working on the sequel, and the sequel game, Shantae Advance, was for Game Boy Advance. We got about halfway through development, and then basically we had shopped it around to every publisher under the sun, and we could not get funding or a publisher locked in. So we basically pulled the plug and put it away. Yeah, and so it's always been kind of a funny thing. It's every time a new Shantae game comes out, we're like, this one's Shantae number 4, this one's Shantae number 5. Um, for me and for the Game Boy Advance team, which was just a small group of us, for us it's always off by one because we're like, well, there's a whole game we made that never launched, no one ever played it. So for us, it's always like, there's one more game in the series, though it was never finished, but it's just been sitting around. And yeah, so in 2 years ago, 2023, um, is when we were done with Seven Sirens, trying to figure out what our next thing would be. And Erin, my wife, the creator of Shantae, the character and the original pitch, for the whole series, honestly,
Right.
she is asking kind of where I wanted to take it next. I'm like, I really have a lot of regret about that game never getting launched. It because I feel like it's kind of a bummer. It's just been sitting there. I'll pick it up and play it every so often. Mike Straggy, the programmer on it, he'll every few years he'll reach out. We haven't worked together for a long time,
Mhm.
but every so often he'll reach out like, "Oh, I found the ROM again. I was looking at it, and like, boy, are we ever going to finish that game?" And the answer is always like, "Oh, someday. Wouldn't it be cool if?" But this time, yeah, we were talking about it, and it just so happened Aaron was bringing it up, asking me if I would want to go back to it. I'm like, I wish I could somehow go back. Mike Straggy happened to reach out right around the same time, being like, "Hey, I'm I'm not currently doing anything. Do you want like what's your schedule like? Would you ever want to circle back on this thing?" And it read also around the same time when it seems like Limited Run was starting to have some a lot of success in like reproduction carts. You've seen a
Uh-huh.
handful of titles from them, and Yeah, basically the stars aligned. I mean, we reached out, we talked to Adam at our biz dev WayForward, talked to Josh at Limited Run, um, Mike Streggy, the programmer, Aaron, me. We're like, we basically are the original team. We can all come back together and work on this thing now. And the funding was there. It sounded like a good idea. So yeah, we just kind of went back in time effectively and finished this game that was just sitting half completed. Um, so that's what got us to the Game Boy Advance reproduction cart, the one that you see that
Mhm.
where we finished the game, got it all done. People ordered it, have been receiving them over the last handful of months. Some who had the deluxe edition, or I'm sorry, the collector's edition, even most recently in the last several weeks. Those have been arriving for those fans. That's the original Game Boy Advance game completed. So what we're talking about today is the upcoming release of the console version, which is the same game,
Yes.
but with HD illustrations and the portrait art, the menus, all that kind of stuff. Very much like what we've done for Pirate's Curse, where you've got a mix of pixel art and then HD stuff. And then, of course, the original version is on there as well. So if you want to play it in its Game Boy Advance format, you can play that, or you can play it in the new kind of fancy
Yep.
format. So, yeah, so it's really unusual to have a game that was started 20 years ago, um, finished after all of this time, with
Yeah.
the same people in the same code, same tools. This isn't like a approximation of what it would have been. This is actually the same people going and finishing their work. It's bizarre. I can't think of anything quite like it. Like I've never heard of something quite like this before. So, but that's it. You got the long version, but I figured we got time to be here and talk about it.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. That's why we are here. So like why? Why? How come you're just not like, that's the past. Let's just go on to the next post siren story instead. Why? What was it that made you said, yes, we need to do this?
well, all right. So one of the things it's that if it was, we've done lots of demos. There were plenty of Shantae demos where we just
Mhm.
try some stuff out. We did one
Yeah.
on what was it? PS1. There was a little PS3 demo, just tiny. These are tiny little, hey, let's put something in engine to move around. Let's do a little test or something like that. This is different. This was so much of a game that was made, that, for example, the character, you've seen it, the Game Boy Color one in its 8-bit sprite style. You've seen that. You've seen Risky's Revenge on Nintendo DS iWare. That was where it first launched, and then a lot of those same sprites and some souped up versions of those sprites are in Pirate's Curse. Those are all 32-bit, kind of like, I guess you could compare them to Sega Saturn era sprites. Even on the Nintendo DS, they were higher um,
Sure.
higher fidelity, or I guess you could say higher color depth sprites. But the Game Boy Advance was totally unique. It was in the pure um, 16-bit era style art. Even though it's a 32-bit system, Game Boy Advance, it's still using art structure of like a 16-bit, like a Super Nintendo, in terms
Mhm.
of how things are paletted and what gives it this unique look that it has. There's unique limitations there. So you got the
Mhm. Yeah, lots
entire
of great Super NES ports on that system.
yeah, exactly, right? So um there's a whole way that the character was presented, the way that it moved, the the character designs, all of that, and all the bad guys, all the cast of characters, um, all of that stuff had been made, and it's a whole chapter of Shantae, like a whole chunk of her existence that fans couldn't that they couldn't play and they couldn't see. It just seemed so
Mhm.
wasteful to have that whole chapter of game just not there. And the gameplay in the portions we had made were really fun too. There were some really neat things that are they're not really exactly the way that the Risky's Revenge on DS. Not quite like that, but it's definitely there's a clear evolution from the first game to the second game to Risky's Revenge being like, now I would call it the third game for, you know, now that this one fills the gap back in as intended. Um it's just a missing chunk of game, and it was really fun. It was like a really good thing. So I think when it's like, yeah, why not make something new? Yeah, I mean, I'd like to make new stuff too, but this just seemed like, man, if you're ever going to go back, at some point there has to be a moment in time where we do it, and this moment just felt right. So that's why. So uh
Well, I, for one,
yeah,
am
yeah.
glad that you did. I think all the Shantae fans are glad that you did. Like you said, this opportunity does not seem to come up very often, so it's super cool that what could have been the missing chapter is not ending up being the missing chapter. So, yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yep, it's there. You can play it, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, I know I'm probably the least objective person ever, but you know,
I'll
I
play
enjoy
through it. I'll
playing
back
it.
you up.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I guess if I've played it, dozens and dozens of times every day for for the last couple of years, like in development, and then way back. So I guess the fact that I'm not sick of it after all this time is probably good for something. But I like it. I think it's a good game and a solid entry in the series. So yeah, I
So,
hope everyone gets to play it.
yeah, for sure. So, if I may ask, what are some of your favorite non-Shantae Advance GBA games? And are there any GBA games that you look to for like motivation or inspiration when you were making this?
Oh, sure. Okay. So my favorite ones are so in I boy, there's a handful. I mean, Advance Wars for Game Boy, for Game Boy Advance, like obviously, right? I think that's probably the best game on the platform. Maybe Astro Boy.
Mm.
I love Metroid Fusion. I love Metroid Zero Mission. Um, I really like Minish Cap. I love Pokemon Pinball on the Advanced. They're fantastic games. Um, I love those games. Like I'm probably missing something super obvious, but those are the ones that the Gunstar superheroes,
Oh yeah.
brilliant. These are absolute masterpiece games. Um, so as far as for looking to those for inspiration, what's really funny is when we went back to this game and cracked it open, we had all the Shantae Advance stuff archived, um, and some of this tech is old. I mean, it was old 20 years ago. Well, I mean, 20 years ago it was old because it was 20 years ago, but also in the late 90s when we were building this tech, a lot of it was based on, that hardware is also kind of was even old at the time, and the tools that you'd use were even older. So
Mhm.
some of the pixel art and stuff, you're working on tools from the like early 80s. So a lot of the work for this Shantae Advance was still going back into even DOS, like pre-Windows era.
Oh
It might
wow.
not seem like it because it's like, well, wait, wasn't that a 2003 and 2004 game? Yeah, but the tools used to make those games, some of those were even old back when we were making them. So um, there were not a lot of just pixel art spriting type tools like there are now. And a lot of it was because it's a proprietary engine that Mike wrote. Um, I'm all over the map here with this answer, but we're going back to um, old tools because we needed them to remain compatible. We weren't modernizing this game; we were actually just continuing work in the old
Mhm.
format.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy.
yeah, so kind of back to your question about which games were influential. Um, part part of where I found myself getting stumped when going back into these archives, I'm like, man, why do some of these things look the way they look? Why are some of these sprites made the way they are? Like
Mhm.
WayForward, we've done tons of amazing pixel art games. We work in limited palettes all the time. We have we've evolved our pixel art style pretty significantly. But going back, I'm like, all of this Shantae Advance art, it predates Minish Cap. That's when it happened. When Minish Cap came out,
Ah,
if anyone listening is old enough to remember this, Minish Cap had a really unique, very cool, new kind of blended pixel art style. Like it was different from what we'd seen before. It felt like like kind of a new generation of pixel art instead of the Super Mario world where either you've got like outlines and then blend colors, or like Ghosts and Goblins or Super Ghouls and Ghosts where it's like you blend your pixels right up to the edge, give it this very sculpted look.
mhm.
Minish Cap was kind of this new thing. Um, Reminds me a little bit of even the game Boktai, the Sun is in Your Hands Boktai, the Kojima game.
Oh yeah,
Um,
remember that one?
Yeah, there was like a new style, and I think that new style, even maybe a little Metal Slug like, these things influenced a lot of the pixel art that WayForward, me and like other artists working here would all be working on and striving to be like for
Mhm.
years and years to come. But Shantae Advance predates those, so its influences were a little bit more like the first year or so, like maybe the first Castlevania game, some of the late Super Nintendo um or early Game Boy Advance. That's kind of where the art
Okay.
style originated from. So it looks a little bit more like maybe Link to the Past art style, I guess. So anyhow, long question, but I think for people who geek out over pixel art specifically, I hope maybe there's some value there to hearing where it came from. But I think there was a right around 2003. I don't know when Minish Cap was. I think there was a bit of a shift, and this game
Okay.
kind of locked in before that. That's why it has the look that it has. So
All right.
there you go. I'll keep my answers a little shorter. Some of these are
No
doozies
worries.
though,
No
'cause
worries.
you're you're getting me going on some of these. It's a lot of fun.
One one question I have seen come up several times about the sprites is, where do they originate? Are they redraws of the Game Boy Color game? Are they repurposed from the DSiWare game, or are they totally new from the ground up?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the ones that are 20 years old, which is most of them, are either original back then or they were redraws of the Game Boy Color. So you get a lot of, hey, the Game Boy Color sprites were typically three colors. Some of them were stacked on top of each other to make like more complex sprites to get more color depth. But the Game Boy Advance ones are generally the same but smoother or more color. Um, but that doesn't account for the whole game. We still had about 50% more game that had to be
Yeah.
made in the last 2 years, more game to create. And those were all either a combination of brand new sprites that were made from scratch, which there are plenty of those, um, and made to like look in the style of the original. Which I, like for those, just to make sure that they matched up, I would make the characters myself. Like I would pixel them just to make sure they matched exactly what they were before, and then get help with from animation on uh, getting those animated in a similar style. Um, and then the other ones, let's see, there are some that are from Risky's Revenge and Pirate's Curse that are then reinterpreted into what they would look like if they were 16-bit era.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of a good example of that, like the townspeople in Scuttletown. If you look at them, you're like, oh, they reused those sprites from Risky's Revenge or from Pirate's Curse. It looks like that, but not really. They're actually they're they're reduced palettes, and in some cases reinterpreted
All
to
right.
utilize the limited colors palette of the Game Boy Advance. So if you look
To
at it,
know.
you might have to go in with a microscope, but go, oh, these are actually different sprites. I would have swore they were the exact same ones, but no, they're not.
All
Just because
right.
it doesn't have that level of color available. So, uh, but yeah,
All right. There you go. Glad to get that one answered because it seems to come up a
Sure.
lot, especially on our Discord. Um, so yes, like all that, that was like a ton of work that you put in to actually bring this thing to life back on Game Boy Advance. Like you said, it came out earlier this year and it's in people's hands. We can play it on our GBA hardware. And now it is almost out on console PC. So what can you tell us about that process of actually, bring it to modern platforms?
Well, let's see. So for the modern platform, there's uh, part of it was trying to figure out how to approach it because it's okay from the perspective of, hey, that's all nice that it's a Shantae Advance. It's like it's nice. It's a Game Boy Advance game, sure, whatever. But I'm gonna play it on my Nintendo Switch, right? Like for most players, I'm assuming that it's just like, hey, it's just it's another pixel game that looks like maybe like a nice indie pixel game that could have been made in Unity or something, right? Like I'm assuming most people who pick it up and play it, other than like, hey, that's an interesting that it came from Game Boy Advance, you know, sure, it just looks like it's a could just as easily be a modern pixel game. Um, so I guess with that in mind, trying to figure out how to present it was a little bit tricky. For example, there's some very common pixel ratios that a lot of indie games will use that are going in pixel. Game Boy Advance is not a perfect 16:9, just like your modern television.
Mhm.
It's different, right? It doesn't
It's
quite
true.
match up one to one. And it's also, if you remember from way back, well, you remember you were just talking about when Super Nintendo games would come to the Game Boy Advance, they would, you've got similar but not quite the same screen
That's true.
ratio, and you don't have as many pixels to work in. So like if you're playing, oh, I'll use like Mega Man and Bass as an example. Um, if you play it on Super Nintendo versus play it on Game Boy Advance, you're losing about a half a tile vertically on Game Boy
Mhm.
Advance. So this is true here as well. So to go back to a full screen, it's like, well, what do you do? Do you stretch the image, or do you try to expand the canvas, or do you keep it true to its original, resolution? So what we ended up doing was giving options. So there is like a lot of, kind of like what you see with a lot of retro games on console. You've got a couple of different scaling options. There's also a zoom, so you can just set the zoom at whatever you want for the pixels to not be massive on your screen. If you don't like that, you can fill your
Mhm.
screen with the whole image if you want. And then the HD or 4K elements, the very high resolution portraits, like characters talking.
Yeah.
Any of our cutscenes are these beautiful high resolution images. Those just take up the full screen. So the end result is shooting for something as close to something like Pirate's Curse as possible. So if you played Pirate's Curse on Nintendo 3DS and then you later played it on PlayStation 4 or 5 or Switch, or PC, you'd get a very similar experience here. You get high resolution stuff on the borders, and you get your true, anything that was designed to be in pixels stays in pixels. Anything that was the source art is an actual illustration is at the highest resolution that your hardware can support. So that's the way that we approached it. But since we know some people don't like that either, you can also just play it in Game Boy Advance mode. You're like, I want to play
Mhm.
it. Just give me the Game Boy Advance experience on my TV screen. If you want to manually scale it to whatever size you like it to be, kind of floating in the middle of your screen, or if you want it to fill the screen, um, you can do that. So a lot of options for players to experience the way they want, but we kind of have our default way out of the box where it'll do the
Mhm.
best. It'll give you the best kind of what we think is the best general experience, but you can customize it to the way that you like it.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
Um,
always great having those options.
yeah, and I don't know if you've got if I'm jumping ahead too much, but the 4-player mode.
I
Um,
was just about to ask. That was perfect.
Yeah. Okay, because yeah, that's one thing that is on the console version is significantly different. So in
Yeah, no
The
link
Game Boy,
cables.
what's that?
No link cables
Oh,
required.
right. Yeah, no. On the original version of the game, it's a 4-player game. It uses yeah, a Game Boy Advance game link cables. So yes, if you have Game Boy Advance game link cables, not Game Boy game link cables, but Game Boy Advance, 'cause there is a difference. Apparently, something different inside the cable itself. You got to have Game Boy Advance cables. You can connect one copy of the game to 3 empty um, Nintendo DS systems, and you can play a 4-player game, very much like the way Mario Kart was played back then. You buy one copy of the game, and then it like sends it through the cable to everybody else, and you
Oh
can all play it
yeah.
together. Yeah, in that game and Mario Kart, if you had multiple copies, you could then um, pick which character you wanted to play as. If it was like you just used one cart, a single cart play, everyone was, I think, a Shy Guy or a Yoshi or something.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, yeah, so we have that in the advanced version, but on the console version, what it does is it's actually completely recoded. Like we didn't keep the original mini game because it was so specifically designed for link cable. So the console one is a recoded version to take advantage of modern hardware. So it allows 2 to 4 people to join, play the game, full frame rate, none of the stuff where, link cable is notoriously sluggish. So
Mhm.
that's all gone. This is like super clean. And then there's also, I don't know if we've talked about this in the, I'm trying to remember if this has been out in our uh, talked about much, but we added additional maps, like battle maps. So the
Yeah,
Game
yeah, I
Boy
think we've
Advance
shared that info
version,
somewhere. Mhm.
okay, yeah, the original version is one map. and then in the new one, there's it cycles maps, so there's a
Mhm.
few of them. So yeah, it's really good, and it's extremely silly. It's a very silly mini game, but it's a lot, but it is fun. So if you got a few buddies, everyone can just sit there, and it's all local play. It's just play on your couch kind of deal.
So
Matches are
Shantae
extremely.
Advance for Evo next year.
What's that? Yeah, Ethernet. Oh yeah,
For Evo.
it's
Competitive Championship Risky
yeah,
Revolution.
battle mode. It's yeah, it's far too silly and simplistic of a game for I wouldn't take it too seriously, but it's a fun time to sit around. It's very much influenced by what Bomberman matches were like back then. That was another popular link cable game on Super
Oh, yeah,
Nintendo.
yeah.
Was Yeah, it's just like, hey, it's perfect for Bomberman. So this is kind of our, hey, we want to do one of those too. So yeah, that's kind of what you can expect. Something kind of like the speed of a Bomberman match, if you were to play one of those back in the day.
Okay. And so then the other thing that is new to consoles is that it's getting a deluxe edition.
Oh yeah, yep. Want to talk about the deluxe edition?
I
Let's
mean,
talk about it.
yeah, let's yeah, tell us why we decided to do that with the three
It's
extra costumes.
it's deluxe. So when so the deluxe edition is like we're I mean we play stuff too. We buy a lot of games. We're like, well, everyone seems to be doing deluxe editions. We'll give it a shot. So our deluxe edition is comes with 3 extra costumes. And so kind of in Shantae tradition, I don't want to spoil anything, but all versions of the Shantae game has a unlockable secret thing. I'll just leave it at
Mhm.
that. There's something like no matter what version you get, even if you got the original reproduction cart style one on an actual Game Boy Advance cart, there is a secret thing you can unlock. Everybody gets something. There is something. But the deluxe edition, there are 3 special costumes. So the costumes, very much like is kind of Shantae tradition, is that costumes usually we try to make it where they have some kind of gameplay effect. Like they're not just
Mhm.
cosmetic; they usually do something that affects gameplay. So in these, we've got the Relic Hunter costume. This is basically Shantae's take on what kind of like the clothes that her uncle wears, or like the other. Oh, in this game, there's Relic Hunters are a thing. So um, there's a group of Relic Hunters you encounter. Everybody kind of has this trademark sort of explorer's sort of uniform. So
Mhm.
Shantae can wear that. If you're wearing that outfit, it modifies your pike ball to do more damage. So you can wear it, you can use the pike ball and do more damage. If you're like, I just want to wear it for the cosmetics, then I guess don't abuse your pike ball too much. Then there's the the whoa. See, hang on. I gotta get names right because these names have been changed a bunch of times to try to like I've got working names, then I've got the high voltage costume is the one I'm trying to think
Yes.
of. That's the one that's like electricity boosting costume. It looks kind of like a tech wear, kind of a modern, like how would you even have clothes? This looks like it's from a totally different time period. With the
Supernova
1994 on the
1994. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, yeah. So that's the year she was created. That Aaron designed Shantae in 1990. Yeah, so it's got that running down the side, and then she's got the hologram ponytail for no reason, just because it looks cool, and yeah, and it boosts your
That's fair.
electrical attacks. So that's that one, and then the sizzle armor is the third one, which is your kind of bikini armor, fire theme. Her hair is basically like literally on fire. It's so you get like your Simon Belmont flame whip when you whip her hair. Um, and that one boosts your fire attacks, as you could probably guess. But yeah, that's it. And that the 3 costumes change the way the sprite looks, but it also modifies the like all the conversational artwork too. So it's not
Mhm.
just the sprites. There's like every time the characters are talking, and you get those high res portrait images that slide in and talk,
Yeah.
all completely like just beautifully illustrated and just awesome. So yeah, these were just a ton of fun to design, and we kicked around a lot of ideas and landed on these because we thought fans are probably going to really enjoy these. So
Yeah, they look pretty darn cool.
they're fun. They're really, you could tell we just kind of went nuts. Um, and Snuck the Sizzle armor one is on one of the comic book covers. That was
Yeah.
inadvertently just the timing of things to that's already out there. So
Special
that one
sneak
kind of
peek.
snuck out there, but it's there. So if you see it on the cover of one of um the Shantae comics, you see that on the
Yeah, the
cover art.
2025 Shantae swimsuit special.
Exactly. So yeah, that's there. The other two we managed to keep nice and mostly secret, other than Anime Expo. I
Mhm.
think got a little bit of a preview, but yeah,
Yep.
that's the three costumes. That's what you get in the deluxe edition, and they're unlocked from the get go. You just can play them anytime you want. So
All right.
yeah, that's the deluxe edition.
And then I guess the last thing we should mention is that there are all these physical editions currently up for pre-order. Standard edition, classic edition, revolutionary edition. Do you want to run down what's included in those?
Oh my gosh, I you know what? I would practically need that image in front of me because they're oh my gosh, there it's a doozy. So there's the standard edition
I
is
can write it
the
down if you
game.
want.
Yeah, because it's the game on whatever platform of your choice, right?
Mhm. Yeah, the
The
game and the manual.
yeah, and then the let me see if I can do this from memory. The collector's edition is the next one up. That's the one that has the
Classic
soundtrack.
edition. Classic edition.
Classic. Okay, so
Mhm.
classic is the one with the soundtrack.
Yes.
Um and what else is in that one? I know
Steelbook
legendary
case.
editions where it gets insane.
Yeah. So classic is the game, the manual, the CD soundtrack, a steelbook case, and that comes in the fancy schmancy deluxe holofoil box.
Right, the steel case. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. That's
Mhm.
what I was forgetting. And then go for it. I think you
And
probably got an image there, right?
I have notes. And then Revolutionary has all that stuff that was in the classic edition. Plus, it has the Shantae pixel art light, the
Yeah.
50 Shantae trading cards, 6 art prints, a metal retro GBA cartridge keychain, a Squid Baron plush, and of course, the individually numbered certificate of authenticity.
And that is the only way you're getting Squid Baron in this game is with that plush because he's it is kind of like funny and deliberate. He's not in the game because he had not this is
Mhm.
chronologically he hadn't been met, like we haven't met
Yeah,
him yet.
I've been wondering
We're in
about
game
this, so I'm glad I want to hear the story.
yeah, well, and so I'm like, well, he can't be in there, and so and I know that fans really love Squid Baron, so we just decided, okay, we were gonna put a plush in the Legendary Edition. It's like, you know what? How about this is how Squid Baron doesn't get left out. That he can be included. We can celebrate Squid Baron even though he can't be in the game. This can be his moment to get a plush. So it's the sorry, better luck next time Squid Baron plush. So that's you can put him on your lap while you play the game, and he can enjoy it through you.
I mean, he does have better luck next time. He gets quite the role in
He
the
does. He
following
gets.
games. So
That's true. He's got he gets a bigger and bigger role each time after that. So that is true.
it's not a bad way to go. Okay, well, I think we should probably jump into a lot of these listener questions because we have a ton. But
Cool.
I have one more from me before we do that.
Okay.
Actually, I forgot to mention all the merch because there's also individual separate
There
merch, which is Risky
there
Boots Plus.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, the T-shirt, the card sleeves, the card binder, the Tinkerbell hat, and the double LP vinyl soundtrack. Those are all for pre-order until September 7th as well.
Yep. Yeah, and the cards are I know there's only so many examples shown on the page, but yeah, it's all art from the game, character portrait art. Some of the scenes like full illustrated scenes from the
Mhm.
game, stuff like that. So the cards are
Those look
really
great.
cool. I kind of like collecting cards, so I get very excited when I see stuff like, nerd out about card sleeves and binders and stuff. So um just a peek into some of my own hobby stuff. So I'm excited. I'm gonna sit there probably like some of you and go stick them in my binder and clap my hands and be very excited.
Nice. Okay,
Yeah,
but okay, so the
like
last question I
woo.
was going to ask before we go on to the listener stuff is, what would you say is a misconception that folks might have about Shantae Advance Risky Revolution that you would like to correct?
Oh, okay. Well, all right. I'm assuming that a lot of people are going to think it's a old game that maybe you could have bought before. It's not. It's. I mean, it's so weird because it's a new game that we finished making. It's how about this? It's the newest Shantae game. It just has a ridiculously long 20-year development cycle, but it is the newest Shantae game. So when you think about it in terms of like, well, but are they going to make a new game? Yeah, we really did just finish this game. So even though half of it was made 20 years ago, the other half of it was made just now. We just finished. So it is the newest game. It is not it's not like weirdly retro. It's modernized with like our current sensibilities. So I think when you play it, you might find that it's like a lot of if I go back to a lot of old school games, sometimes I'm like, ooh, these are they can be a tough pill to swallow.
Maybe rougher than you remember.
Yeah, this is not a rose-colored glasses type of experience. This is an actual you could really just treat it like a new entry in the series that happens to be pixel art. Um,
Mhm.
with some curiosities that link it to some of our older practices, I suppose. Um, another thing I guess I'd say is it's not a homage. This is not like a Game Boy Advance homage. This is an actual Game Boy Advance game. Like this was a
Right.
in production Game Boy Advance game when that was what everyone was doing. Um, we just paused it. So we this isn't like an attempt at kind of emulating a Game Boy Advance. This is the actual like a legitimate Game Boy Advance release. It just
Mhm.
happens to be many, many years later. So, yeah, I guess that's
Mhm.
kind of it. I'm thinking if there's anything else that I know there's debate, then there probably always will be about what do you call this game. Like I call it this game number two because it was always my game number two because I never forgot about it. It was always the second game that I worked on in the Shantae series. So for me, it's game number two. I know that makes it real weird for Seven Sirens, means that Seven Sirens is kind of like game number six, even though her hair was shaped like a number five in the promotional images. That's kind of strange. But in release order, this is game number six. Chronologically, though,
Right.
it's game number two. And the technology that it's built on, if you just look at the Shantae timeline, it's like, well, Game Boy Color, then Game Boy Advance, then Nintendo DS, then Nintendo 3DS for Pirate's Curse, and then
Mhm.
modern console for Half Genie Hero and for Seven Sirens. So it really is like number two. I would call it number two. But I can understand. I feel like there's no wrong answer. If somebody said no, it's game number six, I'd be like, yeah, you're right. It's also number six. It's the sixth one that came out. So sure, it's number six. But we don't use numbers on these games anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's a nice way to avoid that
Yeah,
conundrum.
it's just you know, just call it Shantae colon RR. There'll be no confusion ever.
None whatsoever. Okay, all right. We have like a zillion fan
Yeah, go for it.
questions
Go
here,
for it.
so I'm going to
Let's
jump into those. Our first one is from a Grayman964 who says, I'm very happy to see Shantae's classic outfit return. Is this just for consistency between 1 and RR? Again, no confusion there. Or could we see these parts of her outfit, like the blue gem on the headpiece and the red armbands, return in future iterations of the character?
Oh yeah.
Speaking of, we've never seen a full portrait of Nega Shantae in the classic outfit, just sprites. So we've never actually seen Nega Shantae with the gem hairpiece. Would her gem be a different color? If so, what color?
Oh, that's interesting. Um, you know what? Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if I have any artwork of her in that style. Yeah, if there's none out there in the world, ooh, yeah, I'm not really sure if I've ever done art of her in that. I don't know. Well, I guess the first part of the question is, yeah, that's just what she was wearing in all the Game Boy Advance. Like even though the game didn't come out 20 years ago, we had promotional materials that we'd illustrated and things we'd hoped to use that
Mhm.
we'd show publishers and try to drum up interest. So she had a look. There was definitely a slight modification from her Game Boy Color costume to her Game Boy Advance costume, and then it was changed again for her Risky's Revenge costume, which incorporates more black into the costume. Um, yeah, this is kind of like the middle costume. And could those elements come back? Sure. Yeah, I think any of the elements that are kind of popular ones that are nice to kind of mix back in from time to time, like we'll change the way her tiara looks. We'll have the gem in there. Sometimes we have the sleeves on her, and sometimes we don't.
Mhm.
The like wrist kind of gauntlet or guards will change the shapes of them, or those hip the big hip gold trim. So yeah, these elements come and go. I wouldn't be surprised to see them come back again in all together or in combination. And as far as the gem color, I don't know. I don't know if we would put a different color on Negashante for a different gem. Maybe it would make sense to. It seems like it would make sense to, like, make it red or purple or something like that. Um, I guess we'll
All
find
right.
out.
Fair enough. Okay, next question from One Up versus CPU, who asks, "Is Karnov Shantae's dad?"
Oh, well, not really. We don't own Karnov, and that I don't think we can go that far. But we've made lots of jokes about Karnov, just because Karnov is funny and we like the Karnov games. So there've been a handful of you probably pick up on some of these things like little hints here and there um about Karnov. It'd be fun. It'd be fun to actually do something for real with Karnov someday. Um
Mhm.
but not officially, no. But we like to make little, the games are full lampooning of other things. Some of the are other games, some are other TV series, sometimes 80s cartoons. That's just one of them
Really?
that kind of got I feel like we've kind of played uh I don't know, poked fun at a little bit. But it's just purely because of love of Karnov. But no, canonically, uh, I guess I'd have to say no, because even if I thought that was true, there's no way. And because like yeah, but
I always
it's fun to speculate.
I
And
always thought her parents were, Simon Belmont and Samus Aran.
yeah, there's probably, I don't know. I have to get Aaron's take too. It's like, hey, do you ever have a plan for who Shantae's actual dad is? Because we don't really talk about that a lot. Most of the focus is always on her genie mother and not her human. But we'll kind of nibble at the edges of that from time to time.
Mhm. Okay, next question from Dragon Master Alex says, "Hey, are you the mysterious Matt Bozon who makes the Shantae fan club newsletter? Haven't gotten one in ages. Really hoping that new WiiWare Shantae game drops soon."
Oh, that's funny. I guess I am that guy. Yeah, we wear Shantae. Boy, yeah, that's another. When talking about demos, we've done plenty of them. Um, yeah, I think that eventually all of that. What did it all become? I guess it all, in the end, probably all that became like half genie hero ultimately. So, uh, that's a good, for anyone who doesn't know. There used to be a fan letter that we'd send out. Um, that it's everyone trying to kind of find their place in the early internet days, and those were those were mailers that went out into had a couple of funny things. This is where some of these early, gosh, did we do any comics? We did some really funny early merch stuff, and would like tease little things that we were hoping to work on. um but yeah, we were, that's funny. I haven't thought about that in a long. We did play around with some WiiWare ideas.
If it comes out in WiiWare, I'll ride up in Nintendo Power.
Perfect.
Okay, next question from Artemis Clyde Frog, who asks, "Because Shantae Advance Risky Revolution is getting made, will the DS game Shantae Risky Waters ever be completed?"
Oh, so that's funny. That's that one. So hey, I have to keep that a bit like, I'd like to still do something with Risky Waters someday. And I know what they're talking about. There's I have a document. Sounds like there's some stuff that got out in the world. I'm not exactly sure how, but there's
Mhm.
also confusion about it because Risky Waters is not a Nintendo DS. It was a, what was that? That was GameCube. Um so
Okay.
this is going way back, but this was a pitch for a rafting game. Um, and I guess I'll just kind of leave it at that. I like the idea of it was based on the GameCube controller, as feeling like the left and right triggers being kind of like that analog with resistance in them. Do you remember how those were nice and squishy?
Kinda,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, I was like, man, I want to make a game that utilizes these as paddles on a raft. Um, I don't know why. This is where my head was at the time. Um, and I know that there's so much stuff that's kind of started floating around in the internet about lately. Um, there's people have started making, I think, assumptions. I'm seeing more and more of it. People making connections,
Mhm.
and I read it and I see stuff. I'm like, well, that looks very compelling, but I know that's not really accurate.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so I'm guessing you probably are seeing something from that, like whatever that leak was, or people found a an archive of something or other. Um, let's see, because there was a couple of other ones too where, but I'll just throw this out there for people who, if you just want to let you like speculate. A lot of times at WayForward, what would happen over the years, we've been, uh, I mean, gosh, it's been like 30 years, right, or more. A lot of times when somebody starts a project or they want to prove out some technology, is very common for uh, typically for programmers or engineers like working on a thing, and they need some pieces. They'll go into a Shantae folder. There was always some Shantae from just about every console generation because we try something out. People would grab pieces and just use it as a placeholder and go, "Hey, I made a
Mhm.
character walk around in an engine. I want to prove out this thing I'm doing, or I want to prove
Mhm. That
out
makes sense.
this bit of technology." Then, as now I'm seeing, I'm like, "Oh, some of these things are starting to float out into the world because I don't know, they're somehow things just are getting out there." I'm like, "Oh, people are thinking this is a Shantae demo. It's not. It's something that somebody
Mhm.
built out of spare parts that they got off of our whatever was handy at the time." So I guess I'll just say there are some things where we made demos that were deliberately Shantae demos. There's other things where people were just doing whatever they were doing, using whatever pieces they had around that, in some cases, I've never even seen them. So they're not really Shantae demos. So, um,
Mhm.
just a
Okay.
little disclaimer and a peek behind the curtain, I guess, as to how things work and as you're seeing stuff. But I can always clarify what was real or not. Some of this stuff
All right.
there's fun
Good to
stories
know. Good to
behind it.
know.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Here, uh, Mr. Kawadlo has a very interesting question for you. What do you personally think of Shantae Advance?
Um, you know, what do I think about it? It's surreal. It's weird to have this done. I've spent more time regretting not doing it than I've now been able to, than 20 years of like, oh my gosh, I wish we had finished that somehow. And now that it's done, I've only been able to be in that headspace for like a few months. So
Mhm.
it doesn't seem real yet, I guess. Um, but I'm really happy with the result. I mean, it's really cool, and it's different than what it would have been way back. Um, so some things kind of had to, like I mentioned, there are gaps. There's pieces that were never made and parts that were not designed yet, and so it's neat to see all the things that were like, some parts of it were rock solid, and other parts of it were kind of these you know, out of focus, blobby visions of what was supposed to go in various spots. And now that
Uh-huh.
it's all done, it's really cool. So I'm happy with it and I like it. So I guess that's the best answer I could give. I really like the music too. That's a part I never could have imagined
Yeah.
because the original game didn't have music. We never got around to that. So we were using placeholder Godzilla music from
Mhm.
one of our games, from Godzilla Domination is what we used to use as placeholder.
Yep.
So it never had its own kind of musical identity. So now it has that. So it's fun to get to enjoy that. So
Yeah, we're
yeah, but
posting
I'm very happy with it.
musical teases every Friday. So if anyone hasn't heard anything of the soundtrack yet, just check those out on social media. We'll have a new one tomorrow and every Friday for the next couple of weeks. Next question is from Rick, who asks, "When will we get to know what's in the scrapbook from the ending in Seven Sirens?"
Oh, we got plans for that. Um, as to when, I guess I can't answer that right now, but it's not just a nothing, like it's all done. Seven Sirens is all, and end it with this thing that she got. There's actually a plan for what's in there. So
Okay.
yeah, you just haven't seen the last of that. So I'll have to keep it a little vague. I'm sorry.
Okay. We will all look forward to it. Next question. We have another one from Grayman964 who says, "I went down a bit of a rabbit hole and discovered your old Zelda fan art in Nintendo Power issue number 6, which mentioned you had drawn some comics. There's also an old
Oh,
website of yours with comics titled Enter the Blocktopus, Seaworthy, and a two-page mini-comic for Shantae. These comics weren't archived, unfortunately, so I was wondering if you still have any of the old comics you worked on in the past. Would it be possible to see them?
oh yeah, that's fun. So yeah, hey, there's I guess let me go in order real fast. So the Nintendo Power one, no, that's gone, and I think gone from this world. Sadly, the story with that one is in that early Nintendo Power. I sent in some fan art, and I guess they hadn't had fan art yet. Like this was a new thing. At least this is what I'm told. Is fan art was kind of a new thing for them. So they're like, "Hey, we're going to print your envelope art, but we can't publish your comic." But they didn't send the comic back either, and I didn't take pictures of the comic
Ah,
because believe it or not, film was expensive, so I couldn't afford to take pictures of it. Um, so the comic, I don't know what happened to it. There was a Legend of Zelda comic, and it was drawn in I guess I would say a more like I tried my hardest to make the comic look good. What was printed in Nintendo Power was my envelope art, which was just like my doodle, like when I make doodles on like notes on the fridge or when I'm or on a greeting card. That's what they ended up printing. The actual comic, they're like, we have our own comic artists. We can't run your comic. So it was very nice, but I have no idea whatever happened to that. If it turns up in some random yard sale someday, that would be cool. But to my knowledge, that's not around anymore. Um, but then the ones that were on like the the old ones off the old website, those were when I was trying to get um, any kind of interest in either Shantae or another game I was pitching, which was that one with the space alien on it. Um, what's interesting is I have a 6-page comic from that same time period that I did not upload. I was never on the internet, so you don't find it on archive. But just recently, um, we restored that comic, and that's what is the comic
huh,
that's in the current Udon Shantae swimsuit issue 2025. If you get that thing, the comic in the last there's an actual comic in the last 6 pages, and that is a comic that I drew back in the what I guess late 90s or something. Um, now finished, cleaned up, and it's the story of the gecko match, the dice game from the Shantae one from the original Shantae game. So if
okay.
you're curious, I haven't really talked about that yet, but that's if anyone wanted to like people have got that and probably read it by now. But I guess I really haven't talked about why that comic is in there, but that's what it is. It's
Mhm.
one of those old ones that I drew years and we just
Nice.
finished it up. Yeah. So if you want some Shantae comics, that's where you could get it currently is in that swimsuit issue in 2025.
I think only the Comic-Con version is out. I don't think it's actually hit regular
Right.
newsstands yet, so
Right. It's
that's
only if
people got
you
to wait a
were at
little bit longer.
That's right. If you were at Comic-Con just a couple weeks ago,
Mhm.
yeah, that's how you'd get it. Otherwise, yes, it's you're right, it's only a pre-order right
Next
now.
month, I think. Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
got all mine on order. Okay,
Thank you. That's awesome.
next question from another one from Artemis Clyde Frog, who asks, "Is Risky Boots a human?"
Oh, great question. Yeah, she's a human. But yeah, you I guess I shouldn't be surprised you asked that. Um she if you go back far enough, like pre Shantae 1, some of the concept art of her kind of is half her and half Roddy Tops, and they kind of become
Mhm.
split into two characters. So she kind of was zombie pirate at one point, and then just became human pirate with the you know maybe like a curse on her. She's definitely got a little bit of a haunted look about her. But yeah, she's a regular human being.
All right, thank you for answering that one. Next one is from Kenzie, who asks, "Will you and or Aaron ever come to New York Comic Con?"
We've always thought that would be cool. We've never gone there. I don't know if we end up doing promotion there. That's usually how we get a you know kind of rationalize going away on another trip. But yeah, we'd love to go come visit New York Comic Con because I hear it's awesome and crazy. So would love to. We'd love to do some more things in some other locations since we're in Southern California, so usually
Mhm.
it's the things around here. But yeah, thank you for asking.
Yeah, California is usually pretty easy, going a little further, a little tougher, but yeah, fingers crossed. That would be great. Uh, Another question from Grayman964. Could we ever see another Shantae crowdfunding project, not just for games, but maybe other types of media or merchandise?
You know, um, possibly, I guess. I wouldn't count it out, but we don't have any plans to do that right now. But it's good to know if there's interest in something. So yeah, thank you for asking.
Next question is from the Turnabout King, who asks, oh, this is a timely question. Since we've seen Shantae on GBC, DS, 3DS, and now GBA, when will we see Shantae on Nintendo's most successful handheld, Virtual Boy? Today is the 30th anniversary of the Virtual Boy release in North America, incidentally.
That'll be so cool. I love Virtual Boy. Um, so yeah, I think the closest thing you're going to see from Virtual Boy Shantae is probably like what you see in Risky's Revenge, jumping between dimensions. Or I mean, actually, the love of Virtual Boy is I think a large reason that Pirate's Curse on 3DS kind of set up the way that it is with all 3D and all of the stereoscopic 3D.
Mhm.
So yeah, unfortunately I don't think you're going to see Virtual Boy Shantae, but you know, you could get
What you do is
some.
you take one of those red, filter things that came with the Transformers toys, you put up over your eyes, and then you
Oh,
play uh, Pirate's
Chris,
Curse with the 3D on.
are you talking about a tech spec decoder?
Yes, a tech spec
Oh,
decoder,
okay. It
exactly.
has a name. All right.
My bad. I'll
You could also
put
get like some red
something in the
Legos, I
swear
guess.
jar for that. So you put up your eyes, and then you play Pirate's Curse on 3DS, and I think
Right.
that'll fulfill your Virtual Boy needs.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that's good. I'm
Okay.
glad to hear more love of Virtual Boy.
Um, Another one from Grayman964. From about 2015 to 2018, Shantae was making pretty regular guest appearances in other indie games like Mutant Mudds, Runbow, and Blaster Master, and IDARB. I'm not sure what that acronym is for.
Oh,
Uh,
IDARB,
what
yeah.
what
Yeah.
allowed so many of those appearances to happen, and how come they pretty much dried up since then? I would love those types of collaborations again.
Yeah, there's kind of a reason, I guess. It's not like like super exciting. It's just they took up way more time than I thought. I found that I was spending so much time working on collaboration stuff because they it actually takes a lot of oversight um to get the characters looking and acting correctly. Or if they have to talk, then usually I would find myself like, let me write the dialogue, um or let me review the stuff, or you know it's the approvals and involvement were taking up so much time that it was actually eating into the ability to make actual Shantae games. Um, so we at one point I'm like, we need to just do less of this. It's just kind of like killing productivity. Um, so it's not a very exciting answer. So I think you still see some of them. Like there's the bloodstained one for the Shantae costume. That was the most recent, and
Oh yeah.
there's a few other funny ones. Like if you go back far enough, there's like an iOS game called Skipping Stone that one of our directors, Armando Soto, made, where you can swap out the skipping stone for like Roddy Tops's head. I don't know if there's any record of that on the internet anywhere. Um, but and then we had a couple of them where large amounts of effort went in, and then they ultimately got canceled for whatever reason. And that just was like, ooh man, that takes up a lot of time to then lead to no result. So it's just kind of it's just unfortunate, but not everything always pans out. We understand that. But it's also like, ooh, that's a lot of time going away that could be put into the next Shantae game. So that's kind of
Okay.
the reason. Um, but yeah, it's still, if there's with the right combination, it's just been less recently.
All right. Fair enough. Good answer. Okay, we are at the 1 hour mark, so I think we're
Oh,
going to
okay.
try to wrap up with just a couple more questions. But hopefully, Matt, you can come back next week after the game has launched, and we can
Yeah.
answer some more of these?
It'll
Okay,
be
all
fun to
right.
get into it'd be fun to get into some stuff about the game after people have had a
Yeah.
chance to play it, and, like, because there's a lot of stuff in the game that I'm sure you guys are, "What's up with that?" Um, that'd be a lot of fun. But, yeah, we can
Yeah,
do a few
yeah.
more if you want.
Okay, yeah, I'll just take a couple more here. We got one from Vincenzo Motola who asks, "Were Finn and or Guppy ever considered to be in Shantae Advance? And if
Oh,
a GBA or DS sequel to Extreme Sports specifically, was that ever considered as well?"
yeah, let's see. So, were they ever what was the first part?
Were
Were they
Finn
ever
or
in it?
Guppy ever considered to be in Shantae Advance?
Oh, let me think. To be in the game, I don't think so, but the Shantae sprite is the Guppy sprite. So, like, the Shantae Advance well, hold on, I got this back. The Shantae Game Boy Color sprite, um, is a like you take the Guppy sprite and we started, like, using that as a base and built the Shantae sprite off of the Guppy sprite. Um, so the Shantae Advance one is like a more color depth blended version of it. So, like, they
Hmm,
basically what I'm saying is they have their proportions and body structure are the same in terms of, like, pixel fidelity. So, like, I guess technically we could have, um, but not I don't
They
think we
must
ever really
literally have
did.
the same DNA.
Yeah, like I have my day one Shantae project. Granted, this does not account for the 60 years before that of me and Aaron developing the brand and the series. I'm
Right,
talking about
right.
literally the sprite for Game Boy Color, not the character's evolution, but just like that one sprite. Um, but no, I don't think we ever thought about putting it in that. Um, but as far as making an advanced version of Extreme Sports, I know that came up a couple of times. But I don't think the first game was like a huge seller, so I'm not really sure. And also, mm, yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Was the if that was yeah? Why did that ever happen? There were thoughts of having an Extreme Sports sequel on Game Boy Color, but I think once that didn't pan out, I think we kind of just let it kind of Guppy started being a cameo in other games on Game Boy Advance, so she'd appear in some games just like as a background character or something. But I
All
don't
right.
think we ever put her in the Shantae game.
Okay. And then this will be the last one for today is from Tuna Scroll, who asks, "How much of the original content is in Shantae Advance and how much are changed for new revisions slash new ideas?"
Got it. So um, it's hard to explain. I'll do my best. So my surface answer is it's 50-50. Um, like half of the game is from 2003, half of the game is from 2023 and 24. But it's not like you play the first half of the game and then you just are playing the new content after that. It's
Right.
actually the more of the way that the game is developed. Its core systems were made first, character mobility and transformations were made second. Um, her magical abilities, the bad guys, the NPCs, those things were all made next. So, but in a production perspective, we had got about half of the game done. So most of the work under the hood, the sub screen where you equip your stuff, all of her abilities and transformations, minus one. I think only the elephant wasn't done. I think you could play as all the others. The elephant we added in three, not in 2003. In 2003, all the other stuff was added.
Okay.
Then when you actually leave, like get out of the, like run away from the lighthouse and start exploring the world, there were fewer locations that were fully constructed in 2003. There were only portions of forest. There was the first giant hub world, which if you played the game or are about to, there's a giant forest hub world that all existed. Um, the
Orc Orchard?
first, yeah, yes, exactly. And then the first and most of the second labyrinth were already built, but they were all crammed into one, like basically proving grounds labyrinth, where we put every possible idea into this one giant labyrinth that was like ridiculously huge. Um, um, let's see. So, as far as places that you actually go, I would say it's probably something like 60% of the places you go, maybe 70% of them didn't exist. They were built just in the last couple of years. But all the pieces that are foundational to the experience were all made in 2003, and maybe about 30% of the actual locations you travel to. So it's really a mix. Like I'd almost have to like director commentary over an entire playthrough, and like, hey, that sprite, that's new. Hey, that flickering torch, that's old. Um, it's down to that level of like every single element. I'd have to almost call them one by one. So, uh, and then you'll see some things where you're like, that looks like something I remember from a more modern Pixel Shantae game. There's some of that too. That it's kind of like the Jurassic Park frog DNA, where it's like, okay, these pieces need to come together.
Mhm.
Here's a proper part that can bridge the gap between this older piece and this newer piece. Let's slot that in. So you'll
Okay.
see some of that as well. Um, yeah, it's uh, kind of a crazy thing. Definitely a labor of love. Though.
For sure. All right. Cool. Thank you for the explanation.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, we're should we call it? We're gonna pick it up next time.
Yeah, I think that does it for today. For any questions that we could not get to, and there are quite a few, there will definitely be more opportunities in the near future, including tomorrow, like 24 hours from now. We're going to be having an AMA with Matt on Reddit. Plus, we'll try to be back for another WayForward Chat podcast next week. I think we'll be having some live streams and some other stuff. So, yeah, hold on to those questions. We will do our best to get them answered. But for now, yeah, that is a wrap. You can look forward to the digital version of Shantae Advance Risky Revolution launching next Tuesday on Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and Steam. And the physical edition is up for pre order right now, available in standard, classic, and revolutionary editions on Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox, and PC. Plus, there is all that merch, the Risky Boots plush, the t-shirt, card sleeves, card binder, Tinkerbell hat, and double LP vinyl soundtrack, all up for pre-order right now at limitedrungames.com. So Matt, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. Many thanks to all the fans and the listeners who have been asking questions. We look forward to doing this again once the game is out and everyone has been able to experience it on console and PC firsthand. For now, anything else you want to say before we sign off?
Just no, thanks a lot. I hope you guys get to play the game. It'll be fun to. I really want to hear anywhere that you post stuff or here or wherever you're listening to this and wherever it. I'll track it down. I'll find it because I'm dying to hear what fans have to say about this game. So I can't wait. I cannot wait to hear what you have.
All right, then. I think that is a show. We will catch you next time.
Thank you. Bye bye.